how passionately I advocate for betas to accept their natural place, understand they'll never be able to please a woman.
It's the principalities of the whole thing. What's up, Wallace? Get Lady A up in here. Hello.
Hello, handsome.
Hi, goddess.
Wanted to show off my shirt, but, you know.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Well, yours
There
you
we
can
go.
see. Anaconda Noir looks great.
I can see your snake.
We got snake details everywhere, baby. Big stuffed snakes, I got all that.
We'll wait for people to get in here a little bit. So did you enjoy hanging out next to the pool?
Oh my, I know, I'm all wet still. My my little neighborhood sugar daddy stopped by to see if I needed anything too.
Well, that's what sugar daddies are for.
He wants to be a sugar daddy, but I just cuckold him all the time by talking about my sexy 6'5" black king. He tried to call you my friend, and I had to correct him very quickly. He tries to do that sometimes. It's hilarious.
He tries to throw that around.
My friend. Like, my king? Sorry, nobody calls you a king because you're not one, but get it right.
I keep thinking about you messing with him a little bit. Just be like, no, that's my king, and my naked friend is my girlfriend.
I know. I was teasing him about it. I was like, oh, my naked friend? Do you wish my naked friend was with me? He's like, oh, I hope you didn't tell her. I was just like, she knows. She knows she was naked.
He's always naked.
I told her, I was just like, well, all I said to her is that you shouldn't be out here showing all these cucks that for free. And she's like, well, I can't get tan lines. And I'm like, I understand. I get it. It's a sacrifice we have to make sometimes.
Shout out to Goddess Medusa. Where's she at?
Who knows? She might still be on a jet ski or in the desert out in Vegas, living her best life. So
doing hot girl activities.
That's right. Hot girl summer is forever. Sometimes for certain people, it's not just a season; it's a lifestyle. So
You're QOS. Hot girl summer is January through December 31st.
That's right. That's the lifestyle that we deserve. So absolutely, it should be.
Trying to
like as it is, I'm trying to get myself to not just run back out to California anytime soon. I need to just enjoy being here for a little bit. So I was off the map for a few weeks, getting some stuff done, but it's over now. It's over now for you cucks, for sure.
For sure. So anyways, I've been looking around a little bit at what's been going on. I try not to
so much
be on here, get too deep into it, because most of the time the world just is ending every day.
Oh, you're going to be like Anna, Goddess Anna, and just be like freaking out every day. Like, I bet her doctor is like, girl, your blood pressure, though, is that of a 65-year-old man. Like, you need...
Can't do that. Can't let it get like that.
But we need people that, passionate about the truth. And, because essentially we talk about this all the time. The conservatives, they know that everything's a show. They know that they need to talk around things and, just distract. And we need more people that are willing to face things head on and be like, no, that's not true. They're trying to get around something. This is what's really happened, or this is what really did happen, and, talk about it. So what's up, QOS brand?
What's up, QOS brand? What's going on, brother?
But yeah, so was there something in particular you wanted to get into?
Yeah, I wanted to look at some of this stuff here. The first thing is what I've been hearing about Governor Desantis.
My Viper, baby.
Hi, Viper.
Okay, DeSantis,
DeSantis, the governor, Florida, the
being
place that
empowered by other cucks, yes.
we moved to, unfortunately and fortunately. DeSantis has kind of gaslighted this whole concept that voting is illegal. Voting twice is illegal. And what he's done is he's basically punished some of these black neighborhoods, black voting blocks, by they sent out these voting letters that like said, hey, you got to vote again because something happened last time, so you got to vote again. So the people in these neighborhoods signed the petitions and signed the paperwork that they gave them in the mail, these huge letters. They had all these like colors and stickers on and everything. This is crazy. I can't even believe this happened. And then they signed it and they voted again. So they sent it in and then they punished them for it. They said, oh, you tried to vote twice.
Who sent out the letters in the first place?
DeSantis did, his voting cabinet or whatever. So,
and then he spoke against it, even though he was the one who sent them out?
Right. So what ended up happening is that because they voted twice, one of the people that voted twice after they got sucked into this messed up thing that DeSantis came up with, he had them raided. Like he had the police come in the morning, punching their door, had a bunch of guys with guns in the backyard, had them dragged out the house with their underwear on, like they were some sort of 5-star criminal.
Wait, you're talking about regular individuals who...
This was a regular person. All right, of course they were black.
Local elections?
Yeah, they said that he voted twice, which is against the law. So they basically treated him like some sort of 5-star criminal, even though they purposely set them up to use them as an example as Democrats voting twice in the election.
I got you. Yeah, I'm following.
They did all this nonsense. And then just a couple weeks ago, a couple people that were not black voted twice in the election for Trump. And they let them do a plea bargain deal and basically not have to even go to jail. They didn't even come and pick them up. They just sent them some letters or whatever, and then they came to court.
Yeah.
So it's just this double standard weird shit that he's trying to pull. Because he wants to be president so bad. He's trying to use the Trumpers to be president so bad. And it's been a mess.
They're not led by logic, exactly. Yeah, so they will, but we see that, and one of the reasons why Anna and Young Turks get so fired up is because it's right there for everyone to see. It'll be, like you're saying, very almost cut and dry of this hypocrisy, this double standard, and it happens time and time again. And how are we still arguing that there's a discrepancy in, who has privilege and who doesn't, when there's so many obvious examples? Like, granted, of course, the mainstream news only covers what they want to cover, and they only cover, they only use the angle that they want to use. And, you'll see the same certain stories about something over and over again. And then something like this won't make real headline news because they don't want you, they only want the certain angle shown, not the honest truth about, point A, point B, point C. Like this got sent out and now they're trying to act like they did something wrong, even though they did what they were told. It's hard to talk about the news and current events because we have a news organization, multiple news organizations in this country that are allowed to report like their entertainment and not actually have to be held accountable for, telling the truth, telling what actually happened. They can spin it. And I'm not even talking about, obviously I'm not just talking about Fox News, it's everything down to little podcasts that people think that they can get their news from. It's just somebody's interpretation, so many mainstream and smaller news sources and YouTube channels, whether and like we'll watch some sometimes that are supposed to be liberal, because I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not anything like that. I'm a progressive if I'm anything, But even like the liberal people, all of a sudden the corporate institutions will do one thing and they'll be like, oh, look, they're doing what they need to do. And it's like, no, you're just being misled by their own agenda. Like, it's not, I mean, I'm sure you can come up with some specifics, you know, but recently one of the ones that we were watching just stuck out to me, where they were talking about Biden, and what he says one thing and all is redeemed. Like, no, he's still owned by the corporations. Like, he still, you know, just cares about the Democratic, you know, party more so than actually doing something progressive for the country as a whole, even if people don't agree, you know. And that was, everyone thought Obama was going to get in there and be able to transcend all that, but that's not how politics works. You're just beholden. You're beholden to whoever has the money. And, you know, they talk about on Young Turks and other, you know, news sources that I do appreciate, you know, all the time, where they just, it comes down to money. It always will.
Nailing a kente clause.
All performative, exactly. It's just, you know, everything's performative, and the only thing that matters is money. And that's why I appreciate that, you know, we're starting to meet and collaborate with not just sex workers, but, you know, just people online, content creators in one way or another, who realize it all comes down to tangibles. It all comes down to, you know, being able to make sure money is going to the hands of those who actually care about their communities. And, you know, it's not easy, because what did we do? We donated thousands of dollars, you know, through our submissives and, you know, other people that watch and support us, thousands of dollars to Black Lives Matter. And then they were able to completely discredit, not completely, I shouldn't say that, they were able to discredit that organization in a lot of ways, to the point where Black men and women themselves were like, no, fuck that organization, you know, like, discredit it from within, you know, discredit it in a multitude of ways, not just with the lead woman buying that house. It's not just that, but.
Yeah, I don't really understand the politics behind what happened with Black Lives Matter, Cleveland in specifics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Right.
All these strange issues about Tahir Rice family not really getting any money. I don't even know how that's possible.
Right, exactly.
It sounds crazy, to be honest, especially because their mom was involved heavily in the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
You know, they capitalized on absolute tragedies to make more money, but then where did that money go? And then it discredits the organization that is supposed to, you know, be working for the betterment of Black communities. So then, you know, it makes you feel like they want you to feel hopeless. They want you to feel like no matter what, like, unless you're literally handing money to a family so that they can buy food for their kids, you don't know where the money goes. You know, unless you're actually out there building houses yourself, you can't know for sure that any organization is going to do what they say they're going to do. And that's a really weird, you know, time that we're in, but it's also showing the power that we do have, you know, to build, to get away a little more, for instance, from the porn itself, and like using our audience to get like-minded people together and actually be able to crowdfund for real. Like, I mean, you know, Bernie Sanders showed how much it can be done, that you can really get people like-minded on board with a mission and actually make like a crap ton of money for something that's actually, you know, a shared priority. But it takes the dedication. Yeah. It takes transparency, a lot of transparency.
I see some guys in the chat. They said a couple little things.
Please go for it.
There's a couple little things. Like, okay, the first thing is that the Black Lives Matter, some of the people that were at the head of Black Lives Matter, they said they bought real estate and stuff like that. There's been no real details on that. I don't really want people to go run away with that, because the details are like, oh, she bought real estate and stuff, but there's a lot of ways to do that. And if I had that kind of money as leverage, I would use the money for leverage to get a loan. I wouldn't use the money itself. So I don't know if people should go too crazy with that. I don't really know everything about that. I know that there's a little a legal battle, but for some reason, no one else at Black Lives Matter said anything. No one else said, oh, no, she took all the money. She took all the money. In fact, I never even really heard that once from anyone at the top of Black Lives Matter, because I don't know. And I also noticed that. Did somebody get paid off at the top and then it trickled down a little bit? Who knows? But I know for a fact that the American CIA always used people to infiltrate movements and then destroy them from the inside. There's actually never been an African American movement in the United States ever that wasn't infiltrated from the inside, from the CIA or what you would call people from the inside. They didn't always have a CIA, clandestine operations. And also, I noticed that somebody said something about Desantis and some of the organizations. DeSantis is funded by some very powerful people. A lot of people are putting a lot of money behind DeSantis that are billionaires, you know.
Affiliations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that whole thing that I was listening to on NPR, that, I mean, I knew a lot of it already, but just really digging into how, you know, billionaires, once they have a certain level of, you know, once they have these assets, they just borrow against them until they die.
Right.
You know, they take out loans that they never have to pay back. You know, just it's all the manipulations. It's not actually even about cash in hand at a certain point. So, you know, there's a lot. I really appreciate how much, you know, people are using things like TikTok and even certain, you know, artists, like really trying to educate people about financial freedom is essential. Like, you have to be in control of your finances. You have to be, you know, not just buying stocks, like, you know, buying land, but really, like, you know, focusing on real assets, not, you know, just. And I appreciate they were talking about it in the FinDom community, you know, recently. I think I shared it with you. I don't know if it was the same girl that was recently in BuzzFeed or not, so I'm not going to say for sure, but just a couple threads I was reading where they were talking about how important it is if you're in that world of financial domination, or, you know, even femdom, BDSM, whatever, to really be saving your money, buying assets, buying land, you know, realizing the power that can come from making those big moves, you know, going back to school, not just letting subs buy you shoes and lingerie. You know, I mean, that's great, you know, do that, especially if it's lingerie that builds your brand and you're supporting businesses. Like, you know, for myself, I try to support fetish brands and I try to support Black owned brands because I know that it's going to somebody directly. You know, I'm supporting your business, or I'm having these subs support your business. I feel good about that because I know it's going directly to you. But just thinking bigger and realizing, you know, how important. Like, I love when I see FinDoms that, you know, they have an accountant and they're really sitting and like really digging into, okay, like what's possible with this type of income, you know, and they're paying their taxes too. You know, people don't want to talk about how really just professional a lot of financial dominatrixes are, knowing that, like, I mean, again, you can be dominant and you can be a sex worker successfully well beyond your 20s, but to realize, like, when you're hot, when you're young, and I don't just mean hot, beautiful, I mean, like, you know, popular, to make that money and to put it toward really building yourself, building your brand, expanding, you know, building up your assets. It's just so important. And, you know, to not just get sucked into, you know, buying bags and buying, you know, cheap jewelry or, you know, whatever, you know, to really look beyond
it's
that.
it's very important. And it was in the beginning of the African American community long ago in the United States. It was really pushed that you should buy land, you should buy real estate, that you have to own a couple businesses and stuff like that. And we got away from that somehow.
Well,
and that was probably programming.
You know, what happened in Tulsa? I mean,
right.
Especially back when they couldn't have the internet to show everybody, hey, this is what's happening. You know, the Black community getting too much personal power and being able to invest in their own communities, they shut that down any chance they got. I mean, not that that was the only bombing that happened or the only time that happened, but, you know, it was pretty significant that there was a whole community of Black-owned businesses and real Black investing into, you know, the Black community, and that's very scary to the white patriarchy in the way that it functions. So it just all, that's all it comes down to, is like making the money circulate within the Black community. And that's what, you know, some of these Black content creators that we're starting to work with more closely are prioritizing, because they know that that's, you know, especially now when you can hold yourselves accountable to not only do that, but to make sure people see you doing it, so something sketchy can't happen like that again, because everyone can watch it in real time now. It's even more important now.
Yeah, it is. And you know, man, that was so weird how the Watchmen depicted that whole Oklahoma bombing thing, and then everybody was like, "Oh, is this real?" Like, "Oh my God!" Like that was just a kind of a wake up call for a lot of people. That changed how people looked at superhero movies a little bit, actually, and TV shows when they did that, and it made a lot of changes to the way people look at things, and that was nice. It's nice when a TV show is transparent like that. It changes the way people look at things.
Yeah.
You're looking at something.
Yeah, I'm just blocking somebody who's being disrespectful.
Yeah, to a point.
I just want to say something real quick. I understand that there's issues all around the world. I live in America. I see the racism that we have here, and the part of the problem is that we're oversaturated with our own media only showing, you know, what's going on here. We're unfortunately only just now realizing how easily we can learn about other cultures and other ways of life. And I do talk to subs that are in other places, but I care about where I live. So, and that's all I know. So, you know, I'm not going to speak on France. I'm not going to speak on, I'm not going to speak on Africa. I'm not going to speak on Australia. I'm not going to speak on places that I don't know about. So, you know. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
we
we'll
don't
put that
have,
out there real quick, you know, because it seems like somebody thinks that I should just be sunshine and rainbows on here. Like, if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to be here.
We don't have a vote in France or any other place like that. We got votes here, I guess, and we have influence here. We can't do something about another country. If it was up to me, there'd be a lot of things that we do in the United States that are similar to other countries, including Africa, that don't happen here. So there's a lot of things out there that are interesting to us, but we have to focus on what we have here in the United States. That's all we can do. And what we see here in the United States is record inequality, record wealth, non-distribution is not going to anyone except just a couple people. And people of all colors are affected by this, not just Black people. And I think it's time for people of other colors to start understanding that you are not you're not part of the financial game that's happening. You are a pawn also. You know, if you didn't clear $60-70 million this year, you know, and your taxes and stuff like that, you're never going to be a part of the big boy gang. You'll just be down with the rest of us. So you have to understand that, you know, America has to understand that they're going to have to work a little bit harder as a team. And it's hard because we're from all over the world here. We're not all Pakistani. We're not all Chinese. We're not all Japanese like other countries. We're from all over the place here. So we don't want to work together. But if we don't work together a little bit to help move ourselves up the social ladder, it's never going to happen. Black people need to stop saying, well, I can't have whites helping me with this. You know, white people have to stop saying, well, that's Black people. That's not my problem. I'm fine. There's a lot of that in the United States. You know, Asians say, well, those are other people's problems.
Everybody wants the same thing at the end of the day. Everybody wants autonomy. They want to be respected. They want to feel like, you know, like you're saying, that they can be in control of their life and be able to be safe and happy and healthy. So that's the bigger issue, is thinking that anybody wants something different. You know, maybe I'm sure there's a few, you know, there's people out there that, you know, just want to watch the world burn. But normally those are people that either have nothing or have too much. So, you know, the majority of the people in the middle all want the same thing. And if we're just constantly manipulated against each other, you know, it's so yeah, it doesn't really matter where you are if you can't acknowledge that is the commonality between everybody.
So one of the things that happened, I guess the college forgiveness program, small forgiveness program, up to $10,000 to $20,000 to forgive a person's student loans. People talked about that this week, a little bit last week, and I think it's great and everything. It's part of a I don't want to say the whole thing. Part of a campaign promised by Joe Biden and the Democrats, corporate Democrats, to help people that are in need. Because mostly it's kind of like it's a burden on our economy from an economic standpoint for people to be $20,000 to $30,000 in debt for school. It's actually causing more issues than if we would just forgive it and then let these people use that money to put it back in the economy. We're actually helping the economy and billionaires by forgiving that loan.
Well, everybody was making fun. They were saying that the only people that needed loan forgiveness was somebody who got a degree in something that they can't make any money back in. But even people that, you know, they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and then they, you know, say they have a law degree or they have some type of medical degree, they still have to they're going to try and get the highest paying job, which instead of, say, working somewhere that they really want to work or working somewhere where they can really help people, they'll just end up being, you know, a corporate puppet, you know. So that's the other side of it that people don't really want to talk about, is the manipulation that'll come from, you know, no matter what your degree is in, you're going to be manipulated because now you owe all this money and you want to pay it back as soon as possible. So there's, you know, various issues with that. It's not just somebody who had, you know, the right to get a degree in whatever they wanted to get it in, whether it's pottery or history or economics or whatever. Like, you know, they should feel like they can be empowered to do what they want to do with that degree. And we shame people for, you know, not being able to go out and, you know, make 100,000. And even if they do, like, well, don't question it. You're lucky to get that job and just go get it. So it's just,
what is a job? What is I don't understand. What's a degree that doesn't make any money, that's not useful? What does that mean? Because we're dying for social media workers right now. So social media, sociology major, stuff like that. We're dying for social workers right now. We're at an all-time low on that. So I don't understand. What's a job that doesn't make money? Okay, a person that studies frog migrations and stuff like that. You mean the thing that we're dealing with right now because climate change is literally being shown within animals' DNA? Like, what is the thing that's not useful?
Nobody wants to fund that type of, you know, certain types of scientific research, and, you know, just because it's not a priority, you know, just like if something's not going to make money, you know, like they probably don't care as much about certain research for certain diseases as much as they do getting a pill out there, because they'd rather have more and more people paying escalated, you know, prices on some pill than actually finding the root cause and getting rid of something altogether. So, you know, people just don't want to admit that everything about all societies comes down to a money play, you know.
Right.
So,
and
because we act like our resources, like that there's not enough resources for everybody, but there is. We just, you know, don't actually practice real economics. We don't actually make sure that we're using our resources correctly and using the, you know, using the resources, not just of the earth, but our own technology intelligence, you know, to make sure everything is properly.
There you go, right there. Cass is a history major. She understands history. Right. And Cass said that, you know, oh, well, that's considered, you know, not a useful thing. But we got all these goddamn idiots that don't know shit about history. So maybe she is needed. Maybe we just downplay the usefulness and importance of people that are in science. You know, think about when you watch these superhero movies, they don't talk about Bruce Banner. No one wants to hear what Bruce Banner has to say about the science behind everything. They just want to see Hulk smash. And that's our problem. That's America's problem. We want to see Hulk smash. We don't actually care about the science that we need to support some of these things, and you need scientists. And scientists, some of them get paid really good money from grants and stuff. Some of them don't. They get paid nothing.
Again,
And
it's depending on what they're focused on.
yeah, and everything's important. There isn't a single thing that you go to college for that's not important, including art studies. Because understanding art studies helps America, helps Americans, helps people too. Every single thing is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's just all these things are important to humans. You know, art, expression, learning. It's important, but we get manipulated against our own self-interests, and we don't, you know, have time sometimes to just sit and analyze that and be realistic. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and also you're right, Cass. A lot of history is whitewashed, but see, that's the problem. Is that a real historian digs and digs deeper, and then starts displaying the truth of what happened in the past, and they don't really want that either. So they don't want to, you know, pay them. And they currently right now, they don't want to pay teachers in Ohio. And one of my friends, my really good friends, is actually on strike right now, as of today.
Oh, really?
Because most of the schools in Ohio are either about to be on a strike or on a strike. Probably because the goddamn lottery money is not going to the schools like they're supposed to, going to students like they're supposed to, and going to teachers like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So, you goddamn right. There you go, Goddess Redneck. You're right. Everyone is important, but not everyone is paid like they're important. Yeah. You're damn right.
And even that, you know, I mean, not that it makes sense that people are invested in their self-interest, but, you know, they'll buy lottery tickets for the hope that they're going to make millions and, you know, not have to worry about anything and be good to go. But they'll cry about their taxes going up if it has something to do with, say, you know, funding something for a school or funding new roads or funding whatever. And it's like, that's in your self-interest. So we just need to hold our local and our federal government accountable for, here's my money, where's it going? But, you know, they use fear tactics to make us think that we need to spend billions of dollars on our military, even though nobody messes with us because we already have the military that we do. And it just goes round and round. I don't know. I don't mean to come on here and just bitch about things, but I do, you know, there's topics that I think are important to, you know, show the different perspectives of it, show the different sides of it. You know, I can understand, you know, that people don't think that they're bad people. They're not malicious. You know, they're just being manipulated in one way or another. And they think it's having to do with, you know, their own self-interest, or they think that, you know, believing one thing means that they're not being manipulated, but everything's connected. So you can't think anything exists in a vacuum.
Lady Viper had a point there too about Ohio, and their schools have been messed up for a while. And Lady Viper sort of went to an urban school. It's kind of on the edge of urban and country. Mm-hmm. And, you know, these school districts that we have in Ohio, they're too small. It's one of the main reasons Ohio has such a hard time. We need way bigger school districts. Mm-hmm. And these little towns just don't want to have to be with black people or Hispanics. So they make these little stupid schools that were in between, especially out by Lorain and Elyria and stuff like that. And Cleveland's like that too. Everybody should be just going to a couple big schools on certain parts of Cleveland, and they kind of separate on the east side and central Cleveland and stuff like that. If you're from there, you know, if you know, you know, as the kids say. So it's just been very complicated for Ohio schools because it's been so racially and financially segregated for so long. It's one of the weirdest school district states in the United States, really, is Ohio.
Well, it's interesting, too. I mean, because as a white woman, I can't have an opinion on this, and I would never try to speak about it, but it's something that I want to, you know, at least be a host and be able to have people come on and talk about, you know, that there's, I don't know how prevalent it is, but I know that there's some attitudes in, you know, the Black community that believe that what's the word? That the influence of white people, white culture, white race, you know, the racism that comes from white supremacy is so negative and so detrimental to Black unity that we don't want to be integrated with white people.
Right.
And I can understand why people would feel that way. And it was an interesting perspective for me to even learn about, you know, that's, but again, I don't know how widely spread or widely believed. You know, I don't know if that's just a certain sect of the Black community, like Riza Islam, you know, type thinking of like, you know, like you were saying, there's no white allies, no white person can help us. Because I mean, you know, everybody thinks I hate all white people. Like I'm white. I believe that I try my best to learn. I try to be an ally. You know, I'm not perfect. I know that there's plenty of other white people out there and mixed people out there and people of other races out there that feel exactly the same way I do, that there's certain BS going on that needs to be called out, that there's certain white history that is only detrimental, only problematic, that needs to be exposed and needs to be learned so that we, you know, realize it's real and the implications of it are real so that we can move forward from it. But to just say I hate all white people is, you know, somebody's just jerking off to that. Like that doesn't make sense. Like that would make it seem like I'm completely out of touch with reality, and that's not the case. But I want to support the Black community, but I'm aware that there's endless different perspectives within the Black community about what's best and what will benefit, you know, Black communities the most. And I just hope that I can be a vehicle for people having conversations, you know, about that, you know, Black men and women being able to come together and have, or however Black people identify, you know, man, woman, non-binary, etc., you know, however they identify, having those conversations, because it's not for me to say. Unfortunately,
It's not fair to Black people. We had to deal with this issue of the infiltration.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything about it. There's absolutely no way to stop it. Mm-hmm. Because Black people are like, well, we don't want any whites involved because they're infiltrators. But then a Black person will end up selling us out. You got this Candace Owens and shit on TV, you know. You got
they're doing it to align with what they see as the power system.
Right.
Which does mostly benefit white or white passing people, but particularly, you know, people forget it's not just about white people, it's the wealthy white landowners, right? It's
correct.
Wealthy, influential, you know, white people, not just, you know, so again, there's a racist element that's going to forever be problematic if we don't deal with it, but it's also, you know, about money and resources.
I mean, like I said, Black people get, you know, really upset, especially from a certain sect, where they just say, hey, I don't want any of those infiltrators in my group. You know, the Dr. Omar of the world, you know, we don't want those infiltrators in our group. We need to fix our own problems. Yeah. But we have infiltrators in our group and that are Black. We have the Coon twins that I see on YouTube all the time. They're wearing Confederate flags and stuff. Mm-hmm. We got, you know, Candace Owens. We got a whole unlimited list of people dancing for pennies. So it's sad. I watched Adam 22 yesterday, and they let young Pharaoh come on there. No, they shouldn't have.
Is that right? Interesting.
Yeah, and young Pharaoh finally got a spot, and he came on there and he talked about dudes shooting each other for $3 for like half an hour. He's a complete asshole. I do not know why people have young Pharaoh on TV. Yeah, Clarence Thomases of the world. There you go. Young Pharaoh.
That's interesting because he just delves so deep into the most, like, he's the one, he's talking about all those the celebrities eating babies conspiracies, right? And it's like, even if you think that type of satanic ritual, you know, lifestyle is happening, like,
yes,
there's so many more. I'm sorry, not to say that if that's real, obviously that's terrifying, but there's so many more important issues to talk about that are like real, happening in real communities every day. Like, I would rather talk about, you know, the kidnapping of children and where are these hundreds of thousands of kids that are being kidnapped.
That's a huge issue.
If you think they're being eaten by celebrities, I don't know what you're going to do about that, but like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's easier to go all the way to the top and be completely like out there with something rather than talking about what can we do right here in this neighborhood, in this community, in this state, you know, to help students and to help, you know, workers that have to. Why should anybody have to have 2 or 3 jobs? Let's just talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of support are we giving students to really learn, you know, skills, life skills? Like, why are we teaching people basic life skills in school? Like, we're still arguing about what version of history we should be teaching. It's just all of these things that accumulate into, you know.
Yeah, QoS brand says something important, which is everybody's getting paid everywhere. And I'm glad that QoS brand said that because it's true. Everybody is getting paid everywhere. And it's hard. It's hard to have a movement where you're trying to fight for financial equality, fight for the environment, fight for the need to abortion to no longer exist. You guys want to get rid of abortion so bad, but you don't want to stop any of this weird shit that's going on. You know, fight
like
for
most young women
healthcare.
don't have babies because they don't think that they can financially support them. They've got no system of support. And
you don't want to fight for healthcare.
Are you going to fix those problems so that they can feel like, I can't wait to be a good mom. I can't wait to provide a good life for my kid. Like,
right.
You know,
right.
Regardless of where you stand on that issue, that's what it comes down to.
The weird cult-like membership of people that are against abortion and stuff like that. But like, okay, so when they went and voted for that health care bill, were you there? Did you not see it? Because it was for children. It was for child care. It was for K-12 school care and their food programs. And like, did you not see all that? Or did you just miss it? I don't know. You read the bill, you can see all the shit's in there, but they just don't care. The only thing they care about is that thing that somebody told them to make a distraction so we can fight for another 1,000 years instead of actually fix it. There wouldn't be an abortion necessary per se if you had a really solid system. If you look in other countries that have a really solid healthcare system, they don't have as many abortions.
And again, just real quick to mention, you know, because I've seen this a couple times, I'm not saying I don't wish I lived in America. I'm not saying I'm not completely aware of how privileged I am to be a white woman in America. I say that all the time. I am perfectly aware of that. That is one of the reasons why, instead of only talking about, hey, Cox, oh, pay me, I try to lend my voice to something bigger than that, because I think it's insane how privileged we are, how much money there is in this country, and we are still dealing with these archaic, absolutely ridiculous issues. So I'm not here to say that there is someplace so magically better. I'm saying that the world does need to learn from each other. You know, why don't we have better health care? Why is it so absolutely insane to get good health care in a country that everybody else in the world thinks that you're so lucky to be there? Yes, I am. But I also have it's a hard thing for people to get good health care in this country. And that's insane, because that's your citizens, taking care of your citizens. So why isn't it a priority for our federal government to have a better system? To, you know, the Obamacare thing, all it did was allow the private, you know, health insurance companies to just raise the prices on everything. And
also,
you know,
also, let's slow down on the Africa talk a little bit in here. I noticed that there's stuff in the chat. All right,
and
do we know?
It's huge. It's huge. There's so many countries in Africa. You can't even just be like, oh, Africa.
Do we even know why Africa's messed up in the first place? Because I can tell you a whole history lesson on why half of Africa's messed up in the first place.
Right.
But we're not going to go there because we don't have enough time today. But half of Africa is messed up, mostly because the Dutch, all right, and the Finns killed hundreds of thousands of Africans to make money in that country, and a lot of other things to steal money. And to this day, still stealing money, the Germans and the Dutch. So I don't want to hear that right now. I'm going to let that go.
The Queen's
move
wearing
on
the
to
shit
other
on her
things.
head. She did unapologetically. She doesn't care.
Yes. So
I'm not going to give anything back.
Exactly. Now, do I think that those countries were arguing a lot of different cultures? They weren't countries. Africans weren't living in countries. We made countries for Africa. Africa is not a system of countries. It's not a system of anything, because they were tribes. There were millions and millions of tribes, and they didn't even get along. And the ones that did get along, they weren't best friends. So it was a tribal area. The country things is a made-up thing that happened from the Europeans in the West. So remember what you forced them into. Same thing with Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran and stuff. Those are tribes.
Right.
All right? Those are tribes. Those are tribal people. They're gangs almost, some of them. All right? Don't try to act like they're all together, because they're not friends. So there's a lot of interesting things there that came along, and made a lot of issues and for people in those countries. But I digress. Let's keep talking about other stuff. But here in the United States, our main issue is that we're still a bunch of tribes too here in the United States that don't really want to be on the same page because we think we're on different levels in the world, and we're not. We're all on the same level.
It forces accountability, you know, in how you live if you acknowledge what's really going on. And it's a lot easier to just be in your own bubble. And, you know, I don't know how we'll ever, I don't know how we're going to ever get away from our greatest gift in this country is this, you know, this privilege, this freedom, this accessibility to kind of do whatever you want to do. And it's also that that freedom is manipulated against us so that we a lot of times don't act in our own actual true self-interest. So, you know, it's this double-edged sword, this idea of our freedom and our so-called democracy. You know, if we don't protect our democracy from, you know, the money that manipulates it, what's the point?
Yeah. It's a shame that we still have to even do stuff like this, like to talk about these little petty things, when in reality they should be working on much bigger things. And if you noticed, and I'm going to start sticking to this because this is something an old Young Turks thing that they used to do. We're not going to talk about Trump too much from now on. Yeah. I don't think there's a reason to talk about Trump. I don't think
he's just another criminal that should be in jail because his crimes are obvious. So
yeah, we have people that are keeping him out of jail.
Yeah,
because they don't want to be in jail for doing the same thing.
Right.
So it's just there's a lot of there's a lot of protection going on right now through the different people, and eventually it's all going to stop. I have a feeling that this will get a lot bigger, and you will have to start throwing everyone in jail. If you don't throw people in jail, the United States will revolt and it will destroy itself. So,
but that's what, you know, they killed Epstein because he was going to bring everybody down with him.
Right.
He wasn't, you know, because he didn't come from money. He built up his empire, and he had, you know, he was going to bring everybody down with him. So they killed him off. So it's like exactly what you're saying. It's like, you know, trying to prevent that, that system of accountability from, you know, that train from starting to roll. So
yeah, they don't want the accountability ball to start rolling because everybody would be in jail. All right, everyone at the head of Congress, especially, and in the White House from the last 3 or 4 regimes, maybe 5, especially the Bush family, would all be in jail.
Right.
They would have to be in jail. It would be required by law.
Yes. You know, what's funny is like my mom and I were arguing about Kissinger, and she's just like, you know, just there's these figures that, you know, they're war criminals, and people don't regard them as such because it's like research that you have to actually do yourself. You know, like your Fran is saying, like doing your own research will always, no matter what the topic is, like actually reading real accounts of, you know, events, real, you know, real reporting on it that happened at the time, and studies that are done on the implications from that. Like, it's always going to be more important than, oh, well, I watch the news every day.
Yep.
It's not even hard anymore. It's you like reading. Yeah, you should be reading and really doing real research, but there is so much information put out there now in videos, in documentaries. You know, you can get the information that you need now. So it's just chosen ignorance at this point because people don't want to be accountable to, you know, what it'll take to make a change. So I don't know. And I mean, I'm not freaking perfect. I have, I work to make sure we have a nice space so that we can continue to try and, work with others and not just build up ourselves. We could have made our whole brand just me by myself, some white girl that likes black guys, and just make it real simple and, but that wouldn't have been, well, it wouldn't have been authentic, first of all, because I've been speaking out, like this and offending people for decades now. But I wouldn't feel right if I was just getting up every day just to do something for myself. So
Yeah. Also, I noticed, Servants, you had said something earlier. We talked about it a little bit, the mansions, the stuff that was going on with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. I wanted to say this specifically about Black Lives Matter. We run Black Lives Matter, Black people. We're in charge. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter if somebody stole the money. Black people are all that are, about Black people getting reparations, about Black people winning, are all in charge of Black Lives Matter. And if they want to be in charge of Black Lives Matter instead of letting the other guy do it, whoever the hell they let kind of run the leadership of Black Lives Matter, you got to step to the front and be in charge of the Black Lives Matter instead, and let people know that this is the way Black Lives Matter is supposed to be, because Black lives do matter to us.
It's
Now,
such a
it probably
simple
doesn't matter to
ideology.
them.
Like, yeah.
It probably doesn't matter to them. They probably don't give a shit. But we care. And we can be Black Lives Matter, even though these other people might be in it for themselves, in it for financial gain. That's every single freaking political movement in the entire world. So it doesn't matter how it is. Black people just get too sensitive too soon instead of remembering that we're in charge of that thing that we're trying to start.
You can organize with your friends and go out anytime you want, or you can, especially using the internet, you can organize around anything that's important to you. You just, again, we have to, but why do they pay us so little, have so little resources? It's so that we're too busy trying to pay our bills, and we're too busy fighting, with the electric company of why they put this extra charge, and, all of it is a manipulation to keep us too busy. All we have time for is doom scrolling, some bullshit while we're on the toilet, and the rest of the time we're burnt out from just trying to feed our kids and go to work, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 1 job that just takes up all our time. It's all on purpose, so we don't have time and energy to do anything else. And that can't, we can't let that win,
Can't let it win. I remember the church got flipped, and I read about it. Well, the church got flipped against the Black Panther movement because they had guns and they were tough and violent.
Yeah.
And they used the Baptist church to destroy a movement that we needed.
Yeah.
They used the Baptist church to fight against the Muslims that were the 5%ers that were trying to unite all Black people together and then have them start fighting against the government. And they use these things against each other. And then what we end up doing, we get nothing. Yeah. And I think that now it's time for something. I think it's time for everybody to fight and just ignore the messenger. There's going to be bad messengers everywhere. With Martin Luther King, he had hoes and all that stuff. Malcolm X might have had some stuff going on before he left the Nation of Islam. So it's just all that stuff's happening. There are no perfect people.
But that's the other reason too, that they won't decriminalize sex work. They still keep trying to push this whole narrative that we're this Christian nation so that they can shame people to discredit them. And if we don't stop caring about these things that aren't important, so what if somebody likes to get pegged? He might be, the only politician trying to actually work with Black communities or speak on something, having to do with supporting a commission to discuss reparations plans. As long as you're not trafficking children, I really don't care. Truly, I don't.
Dr. Umar really got, mean with the gays, with the LGBTQ community, talking about, well, we don't need them in our movement and blah, blah, blah. It's like they've been in our movement the whole time. They were part of the Black civil rights movement. We can't
There are
do
Black
that.
queer people. Are you just going to try and isolate you? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
We're all the same. We all want the same thing. And we're all just asking for validation that I am a person and I want the same thing you do. How can we get there together? And instead
do it together.
Brainwashed to see, no, they're different from me, so they must have, a different goal. And it's but the end goal is the same. Self-empowerment, being able to wake up in the morning, feel safe, feel like you can go and get that money that you need to keep your roof over your head and your family's head and support your parents. And, it's all the same. We all want the same thing. So I don't know. And I don't want to be like, just up on a soapbox about this, but it's like, this is why we, has started AnacondaFights. This is why, I try to use my power for good, because I otherwise just feel guilty being like, oh, well, I'm a white woman in America, I'll be good. That's gross. I think that's gross.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to hold you too long because I want to say you got a Moan thing to do in a little bit.
So I will be on the Moan app. I don't know if it's actually on Android or not yet. I know that it's available on Apple phones and in the Apple store. It's Moan app. I will be on there with an amazing Black king, the slave master of, little betas. And we're going to talk about a few different things. Definitely going to talk about QoS allyship because, I not to go into all this real deep, but I know that a lot of people think that the term Queen of Spades, QoS, is problematic. I know, just like anything else, it's not going anywhere. So what I'm trying to do is bring together like-minded white women that want to support Black people, Black causes, make sure that, these cucks, these subs, however they want to identify, if they want to talk about Black supremacy, they want to talk, I don't care if it's because they're jerking off or they're in chastity. If they want to talk about that, they better be paying Black people, period, in one way or another. So as a QoS, as a FinDom, I've always felt that that's my responsibility to push them to be, just like how a true FinDom is going to make their subs, work harder, get a better job, not just be not taking care of themselves. That's your responsibility as a dominant, is to lead, is to, influence in that way. So, going to talk about a few different things. I also have, like I said, some allies that I'm working with that are trying to support the Black New World Order as not just a kink community, but bigger than that. And, what's all going into building a network for that, and how, true QoS can support that and be better allies. So going to be over on the Moan app. It'll probably get a little bit kinky, a little bit sexy, because that's what Moan's all about. But, I'm Lady Anaconda. This is, my platform. This is how I talk about, how everything's connected. So definitely come over to the Moan app around 4 p.m. Eastern and check that out. And my amazing king, Daddy Rakk, and I will also be on House of Anaconda a lot more often. Because there's too much going on, and we want to make sure that there's perspectives being shared that, really speak to what we're trying to do, and how other people can get involved when, they care about what we care about. So, yeah, Daddy Rakk, please, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, and just let everybody know, I will be as DJ Rakk. I'll be kind of going to the Sound Village Instagram and doing some one-on-one interviews with some of the local rappers and stuff that I'm starting to become friends with, and just doing some stuff, talking about hip-hop, talking about music, talking about the culture that goes into it and the politics that goes along with it too. And just doing a little bit of a fresh look at something that people really don't take the time to do with music overall. So I'll be over there, SoundVillageHOA, doing some one-on-one, some live, some interviews, some posts. So just keep an eye out for that stuff. SoundVillageHOA. It's everywhere. It's on Twitch. It's on Instagram. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere. SoundVillageHOA. It's easy to find. So you
just search HOA now. Like,
if you guys have
you're not going to
questions.
find the Homeowners Association now. You're going to find House of Anaconda. So
that's right. We're going to be doing a lot.
Yeah. So
we're going to be doing a lot.
Follow House of Anaconda on Snapchat too. There's a lot of promos and updates there, and behind the scenes when we're with our different models. So lots going on, always bigger and better. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and
everybody have a great day.
Thank you, DJ Rakk, for being here. And
this is Lady Anaconda, and I just want to make it clear. The truth coming from my lips, how passionately I advocate for betas to accept their natural place, understand they'll never be able to please a woman.